All right, everyone. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good day, wherever the heck you are, whatever you're doing. Thanks for pausing just a bit to spend a little time with me. So today we get to talk to my buddy Joe Calloway with his new book, short, sweet, and to the point, The Leadership Mindset. It is fantastic. I read through this twice. It will not take you long to read, but the lessons are long lasting. And Joe's written some great other books as well. His book Category of One really changed the way that I think about business. And I'm just delighted that he's here with us today. Good morning, Joe. How's it going, buddy?
It's going great. It's going better now that we're doing this.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I'm super duper excited that I get to talk to you today and share you with my folks because I don't know that everybody knows you. So tell us a little bit, Joe, about your background and how you got started as a big time consultant that everybody can learn from like they can.
Yeah, I'm not sure how big time I am. I got started. I'll make it really short and sweet. I'll give you the nutshell version. I was managing a real estate company. I mean, a tiny little real estate company, like 12 agents. And then I went to work for a bigger one as director of marketing, and I was responsible for every meeting that we had. My job was to give them ideas to help them be better at what they did so they could make more money. Because if they made more money, I made more money. So I got hooked on this idea of, wow, what's out there that I can kind of process and then pass on to people in such a way that they go, oh, wow, that helped. That really helped me. And then that ended up evolving into speaking and some consulting and a bunch of books. And here I am decades later.
Wow, that's really cool. I didn't know that you were a director of marketing before. So, Joe, has marketing changed at all in the last couple of years? What do you think?
Yeah, you think maybe? Yeah, the internet. When the internet first hit, I made an argument in one of my books, actually. I said, it hasn't changed that much. It's made things faster, like the telegraph made things faster, the telephone, but the fundamental nature of things hasn't changed. But in the last few years, particularly because of social media, marketing has changed, and it's changed in many ways, but one fundamental way, Phil. Nobody cares what I say about my business. Nobody cares if I tell people how great I am. They don't care. They want to go see, and you know this better than anybody, they want to go see what my customers think about it. And that's what's driving the market now. So yeah, marketing now more than ever is about creating an experience that will cause that positive word of mouth. And of course, you know that turf inside and out.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting, we mentioned that type of marketing, but I would also say, Joe, that marketing to employees and to customers that are already customers is even more important. When you think about, your leadership mindset, I think the culture of many executives is, well, I'm not going to get on social because it's a waste of time. And I see that if leaders actually embrace social, they could do a better job of create and repeat of their culture even more, which is one of the concepts that you talk about in the book.
Well, they absolutely could, because, the thing is, if you've got a message that you're going to spread, go where the people want to hear that message. Everybody's on social media, and to not use that to communicate as a leader is, it's silly. It's almost nonsense, in that it quite literally doesn't make sense to not use that platform. So, that's where everybody is. So if you want to talk to them, you might want to go there.
Yeah, absolutely. It used to be that people would take smoke breaks, or they'd have these all hands boondoggles that people were sleeping through and multitasking through and doing things that, frankly, they weren't even listening. And now with social media, we have an opportunity now to really set that message and continue to repeat it by telling stories and sharing experiences that then reinforce the importance of our culture and our message. Have you found that to be true too, Joe?
Oh, I found it to absolutely be true. And I think one of the keys to it is the way, the tone. I write about this in the book. I say that great leaders don't give speeches. What I mean by that is, and I use an example, it's a very subtle but very important difference. Think about an employee who says, our CEO gave a speech about where the company's going this morning, as opposed to an employee who says, our CEO talked to us about where the company's going. Speech versus talk to. One works better than the other. And I think that tone carries over to social media. Instead of thinking in terms of, I'm going to write an article and post it on social media, just talk to them. Just go on there and talk to them the way you talk to anybody, because it has so much more credibility.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I would say just commonsensically, it's much more enjoyable to have a conversation with someone than it is to be talked at. I mean, I never like to be talked at. Leaders that talk at me, I'm like, well, he or she is talking to somebody else, because that really doesn't relate to me, as opposed to, well, Joe, what do you think about this?
Exactly. Yeah, and the coolest thing something that I've done a number of times when I've been hired to give a speech, I say, look, the CEO is speaking before me for an hour, then I'm scheduled for an hour. What if she did 30 minutes and I did 30 minutes, and then we sat down in a couple of chairs on stage for an hour and just talked about what we both talked about, and brought the audience into it, and did exactly what you just said. And to have a CEO occasionally, whether literally or figuratively, turn to the audience and say, so what do you guys think? You heard what I think. What do you think? My gosh, the good that comes from that. And if the culture is such that people will tell the truth and speak frankly, think of the benefit to the CEO, to the leader, of gaining information and reaction and thinking. Sometimes I've had a CEO say, holy cow, I had no idea they were reacting that way to this. I thought it was all roses and unicorns, but the troops don't seem, there's a little unrest in the truth. You need to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. That conversation, when people trust you, they say things they would have otherwise never said.
Yeah.
Because they want you to know, because they believe that you care. And that's a big mindset shift, I think, Joe, that at least that I've witnessed in the last 20 or 30 years in business, is I see CEOs actually caring about their employees in a very visual way. Whereas before, a lot of times, they would say that they care, but then that was just a check the box thing. Oh yeah, I told the employees that I care. I just said the mission statement. And that's one of the things that I thought was really strong that you reinforced in the book, Joe, is the whole idea of create and repeat. So why is that so important? If I hear your message once, isn't that all I really need?
The one thread, not the one thread, but one thread that I've seen run through the organizations of every effective leader I've worked with, and this could be a General Motors size organization, it could be a 3-person, shop of some sort. But the one thing that I've seen in common is once the values and the vision and this is how we're going to play is established, then great leaders, to quote Joe Scarlett, who's former CEO of Tractor Supply Company, CEO and chairman of the board, he said, the fact is we just talk about this stuff all the time. I quote my friend Marty Grunder, who's a fabulous businessman, great. He owns a terrific company, Grunder Landscaping, as well as he's an advisor to landscapers across the country. Marty said one time, if your employees aren't making fun of you because you say the same stuff all the time, then you're not doing your job. Now, he meant that in an affectionate way. It's like, oh my gosh, I wonder what Marty's going to talk about. Marty's going to talk about what he always talks about. Now, he'll also talk about new ideas and where we're going. But when it comes to that values, trust, who we are, he's going to go back and reinforce it over and over and over. It's so important.
Yeah, one of the things that I really liked about the book is you did mention that. You mentioned how, it is that there's a leader in there, and I should have wrote down who it was, but you mentioned how every year, if there, you said, if I'm not talking about customer experience and customer service and the customers, you should send out the FBI.
Yeah, because aliens have taken over my life.
Yeah, I think that's hilarious.
That was Alwyn Lewis when he was a senior executive with Yum Brands, which was KFC and, that whole
Pizza Hut. Yep.
Yeah. He said, if I'm not talking about customer service, aliens have possessed my body, called the FBI, because he always talked about it. And they knew he was always going to talk about it because that's his job as a leader, is to reinforce what matters most, what's most important.
Yeah, reinforcing what matters most. I think that's so interesting. And one of the competitive advantages that we have now in many organizations is that culture, because culture attracts the best. And by best, I mean the most aligned with that culture. And it repels the worst, not necessarily performance-wise, but those that do not fit with the culture. So how else, Joe, does culture really show up so that people can understand why that's so darn important?
Well, what just popped in my head was another competitive advantage to culture, and then we'll talk about how it shows up. But one of the great things I ever heard was that possibly your greatest competitive advantage is to have employees who want to go to work. If your employees get up and want to go to work every day, holy cow, Phil. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that for a business. It just doesn't. Now, in terms of the way it shows up, and I've got a case study in the book about Hughes Marino, a client of mine, and I'm so proud of them. Listen to this. This is just stupid. It's so good. Fortune magazine named him the #1 best place to work in the small business category. Now, they're not a tiny business. I mean, they've got a number of offices on the West Coast, one in New York. And so they're a pretty good sized company, but from the Fortune magazine standards, they qualify. So they're the #1 best place to work. And it's exactly what you just said. It's interesting in their meetings, what you just said about it showing up in their meetings, they eventually will get to the numbers, but the leadership talks about how are we doing, not from a numbers standpoint first, but from how are we doing as people? How are we doing as being a great place to work? Where are we messing up? Where do we need to get better? Let's talk about the big family outing that we did this weekend, and just talk about what Sue's little boy did, which was the coolest thing ever. And so it truly does. It's all that cliche stuff made real, which is they really do feel like a family. We really do feel like everybody has got everybody else's back. We believe in being ethical and honest. And if we have to ask if it's ethical, that's our answer. It's probably not. And it's this idea of we've decided how we want to play with each other and everybody else. And if you don't want to play that way, that's fine, but you can't work here. And at the same time, they're not clones. These are very independent thinkers, strong personalities. And part of their culture is to speak out. And if you have a different idea, put it on the table. But I'm telling you, culture, well, as you can tell, blah, 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 I'm babbling. It's probably my biggest hot button about what drives success. It all starts with culture.
Yeah, well, so I totally agree with you, but I've heard some people ask, well, our culture is flexible. Like there are organizations like Netflix that have no vacation days. Not that you can't take vacation, but that you get to decide for yourself. So aren't employees going to take advantage of that, Joe?
Here's the deal. Yeah, some probably will. But you said it early on. Culture is, if it's really strong and real, it's kind of a self-regulating deal. And if you don't fit, like one of the people that I've quoted countless times, I think he was one of the greatest business thinkers ever in history, Steve Jobs. I could not have worked for Steve Jobs. Oh my gosh. I would have quit or gotten fired within a half day. I just was not a good fit for that culture. But the ones that were, and the ones that still are, it just unleashes them. And you can have, well, look at Zappos, which is the zany, crazy people wearing headdresses. It's just wild there. I probably wouldn't fit in there. I'd go crazy. But for the ones that do fit, or a Netflix where the rules are there's not many rules. You know, you can kind of make it up as you want to. Some people will thrive in that culture, and other people will go, I can't do this. I got to have some structure. But I really think it is kind of a self-selecting thing that it's exactly what you said. You attract the people that you want to attract. Southwest Airlines, they get their pick of everybody, and they attract the people they want to attract. And if you're not the kind of person they want, you don't get hired. So, culture from a hiring perspective, from an employee loyalty perspective, from an impact on the customer perspective, customer perspective, it's so powerful.
Yeah, well, I would also add that it plays out in results, that are public. So the Great Place to Work Institute, put on every year they do this 100 great places to work, and every year consistently, most of that list outperform their peers because it's a great place to work. So why do you think, Joe, more organizations aren't defining their culture and then being firm in their values?
The good news is that, and I bet you've seen this too, the good news is that more and more of them are. I really think people are starting to get it. The people that used to say, culture, yeah, fine, let's all hold hands, but then can we get to the numbers? What they're starting to realize is, oh, wait a minute, the culture is what drives the numbers. That's what makes the numbers good or bad, what they are, generally speaking. And I think a lot of people that haven't come to an understanding of the impact of culture, I think they may be those really numbers-driven, rules-driven people that they simply haven't had the realization yet that the things that they care about are driven by their numbers. Now, listen, you can have a great company with a great culture that is, or for you guys like you and me and others, it would appear to be really rigid and just too stuck in rules and too many ballpoint pens and pocket protectors and just all that. But if that's the kind of people you want to do the things that you need to do, that's great. There are people that can say, every second here is accounted for strictly, and I love it. Cool. Then knock yourself out if that's what works. The thing is, and you used the magic word earlier, it's alignment. Do you have alignment with the people, the culture, the leadership, ultimately the customers, ultimately all of your stakeholders, whoever they may be? It's all about alignment.
Yeah, I so agree. And one of the things that, strikes me as we're talking here, Joe, is this seems so simple. And one of the lessons that you share in the book on the leadership mindset is that leaders make things simple. And yet often they use words like obfuscate and conjugate and other words that make them seem smart. But employees are like, oh boy, what the heck is that? Like, why are they talking like that? So is that insecurity that's talking when they use those big words? Or what prevents these folks from being the simple, clear-spoken people that we know that they are?
Here's the deal. I was in a meeting yesterday with a group that I'm part of, and we were talking about a marketing campaign. And one of the people at the table had written this beautifully worded paragraph. And I said, it just sounds like you're talking to a company instead of talking to the person that's going to make that decision. And I think this is a very human, personal decision with all sorts of fear of the unknown and blah, 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 blah. And he said, well, what I'm trying to say is A, B, C, D, E. How do I say that? I said, you just said it. You just said it. Don't dress it up. Make it real. Here's the thing. People say, well, It's the same trap, Phil, some people drop into fall into when they give a speech. They think a speech is supposed to sound somewhat different than the way they sound normally. No, just do it. Talk to people the way you always talk to people. That's the way to do it. But the trap is, yes, but doesn't it need to sound professional? Here's my definition of professional. If it works, it's professional. If it's not working, it's not professional. And what you said about just say it without all of don't dress it up. Be human. Now, be appropriate. Of course, be appropriate. But yeah, we fall into this trap of it's supposed to sound a certain way. I got so much sun on me. My face is blinding people. There we go.
You're good, Joe. So yeah, it's right. I mean, plain talking is definitely value. And let's be clear, we're not talking any intellectualism here. We're talking just say what you mean and mean what you say so people can understand the words that you use without having to look them up in a dictionary.
We are possibly the two most intellectually advanced people having a conversation on planet Earth at this time. But look at us.
That's right. Yep. Everybody can understand us. That's right.
We can understand everything that we say. But I mean, I laugh about it, but that's the goal. Are you being understood? Do they get it? If you need to reach people on an emotional level as well as an intellectual level to get buy-in, are you doing that? Or is your language, whether it's written, whether it's social media, whether it's in front of a group, is it so contrived and stilted and perfect that nobody gets it? It's like on paper, it looks perfect, but it's not real. Yeah.
That's so funny. And I totally agree with you. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's worried about his videos being perfect. And the answer is nobody wants it to be perfect. Nobody expects it to be perfect. Everybody wants it to be real. Everybody wants it to be honest.
Last night, the National College Football Championship game, halftime entertainment, Imagine Dragons. And the lead singer, who's terrific, he was off. He was slipping off the note. He was missing it a time or two. And my 17-year-old daughter looked at me and said, "They're not using auto-tune, are they?" I said, "No, he's not perfect. Isn't it great?" You hear him messing up just a little bit, but it makes they're not lip syncing. This is real. This is the real deal. And listen to how good they are. It's a live performance. The acoustics aren't great. It's hard for him to hear, but it made the performance so much better because you knew it wasn't fake. And I think the same lesson transfers over to all of us all the time.
Absolutely, especially with leaders. We want leaders to be real. We use that overused word of authentic, but what authentic really means is I want Joe to be Joe and I want Phil to be Phil. That's it. That's all it really means, right? There's no need to flower talk and talk like, everything is perfect. Just be honest. Just say what is on your heart.
Peggy Noonan was a speechwriter for Ronald Reagan. Now she's a columnist for the Wall Street Journal. She wrote a book on speaking, and she actually, this was in an interview about her book. She said, come on, the audiences you're talking to, they've all seen slick. Don't be slick. They've seen that. Be you. They haven't seen that. And it's the same lesson is don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to do it like me or you or anybody. Be you. It's the best thing you can possibly bring to the table.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And so about being you, though, we still have to add value as leaders. And that's one of the things that you talk about in the leadership mindset, Joe, is that leaders create value. So what does that mean and how do leaders do that?
Well, I tell you, one aspect of it for me is people say, well, the term a few years ago was wow factor. It's like, well, we got to come up with a wow factor. Here's the deal. I was reading a book about customer service, And the writer said, I work with a restaurant chain. And one day one of the employees looked on Facebook and one of their regular customers was at home sick. And she said, oh, I would give anything if I could have the such and such meal from such and such. And the employee, and this was a cool thing to do, said, let's make one up and take it to her. And so they did. And the writer of the book said, that's how we treat our customers. No, that's how you treated one customer on one very special occasion. The way you treat your customers is, how easy is the parking? How quickly do they get seated? How quickly does a waiter or waitress come to the table? Does the food come to the table hot? Are the prices fair? Is it consistent? That's how you treat your customers. And one special occasion, once in a blue moon, it's a cool thing to do, don't get me wrong. But it's not cause for saying, well, we've got it covered because we hit somebody with a wow factor. Here's to me the ultimate wow factor, and this is an aspect of value, is if your customers are saying, wow, they get it right every single time. Boom, that's value. Consistent performance. Buzzers and bells wear off. Usefulness never does.
Wow.
So
wow.
There's a rant for you.
Yeah, well, no, but that is such a wow, Joe, because I got to tell you, getting great service once, that's nice. You know, I've got a restaurant here in Tampa that I love. They've given me great service once, and that's cool, but most of the time they screwed up. And I'm not going back anymore because most of the time they screwed up. That was nice, but I want them to do it right every time. Don't wow me. Just give me what you promised. Deliver on your goods. And I think leaders are the same way, right? Leaders have to deliver on their promise every time.
They absolutely do. If you know, the thing is, if you, and boy, you just hit it. If you deliver on your promise consistently and with excellence and with constant improvement and with constant ongoing innovation, and looking at, you know, okay, what's our next raising of the bar that you do for yourselves? You know, I talk a little bit about disruption in the book. And the thing we've all got to do, my gosh, I've had to do it in my business, which is think, okay, what could put me out of business? What could put Joe Calloway out of business? The phone never rings. There's no emails. Nobody wants me anymore. Whatever that is, I better be the one to do it. I want to put myself out of business. I don't want the market or the changing economy or changing demographics or anything else. And I've definitely had to change my value proposition and the definition of the goods that I deliver. But the trick is to stay relevant and still deliver value. And I think that's true for anybody. I don't care what business you're in.
Yeah. Absolutely. Stay relevant, deliver value, and deliver on your promises. 3 big things that people can do. So, Joe, I love the way you close this book. The Leadership Mindset's easy to read. And you talk about the 3 things, right? The 3 daily things that people need to do. Those 3 things over and over and over again. Yeah. So what the heck are the 3 things, Joe, and how do we find our 3 things?
Yeah, let me give you the best explanation of it that I know is to give you an example. And it's a client of mine, it's a national trucking company. And they said, for us to win, for us to really dominate in our end of the market, what do we have to do? And trucking, freight delivery, logistically, is like a jigsaw puzzle with a million moving pieces of information that you have to make work on a 24/7 basis. It's extraordinarily complicated, but they said, no, let's say that it's very, very simple. They've got 3 things. Number 1, pick it up when you said you would. Number 2, deliver it when you said you would. Number 3, deliver it intact and all there. And if they win consistently on those 3 things every day, they win. I mean, it's almost game over. They win so big. And so what they've done is they've tied every single job of the thousands of jobs in the company. Ultimately, now everybody's got their own individual 3 things, but they are all in the service of enabling this company to pick it up when we said we would, deliver it when we said we would, deliver it intact and all there. I've had the same three things for about 25 years. Mine are number one, product improvement. That is number one with me. I'm doing a presentation day after tomorrow. It's a presentation I've done 200 times, generally content title-wise, and I've been working on it for 2 days. Because it's the only way I can stay in business, Phil, is to get better. If I don't get better, I'm gone. Because my competition, and you know my competition, you are my competition. And my competition is so good that I have no choice. So number one, product and service improvement. Number two, be the easiest and a pleasure to work with, which is a massive tiebreaker. And number three, immediate response to customers, potential customers, and business partners. Immediate response. Boom, right then and right there. Those are my three.
Those are so simple and yet so powerful, because if you deliver on those three promises every time, you're going to knock your competition out of the park, Joe. That's it, man.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So The Leadership Mindset is the book, folks. If you don't know Joe Calloway, you absolutely need to get to know him. Joe he's a dynamo. What you saw today was just part of it. You should go to joecalloway.com, JoeCalloway.com. Now, Joe, you are super easy to work with and super responsive. So is there one place that if people want to give you some feedback about the book or about anything that they should go, or how should they connect with you?
Well, feedback about the book, it's on Amazon. That is, I decided with this one, it's for sale on Amazon. And you can go to my website and click to Amazon, but you can get on it. And of course you can review the book there. But my website, if you look at the homepage up at the top right-hand corner, is my email address. And email me anytime. Somebody a few months ago advised me to put my email address front and center. It's like, dude, I don't see your email address. You need to get it on there.
Well, I'm glad that's working for you, Joe. I really appreciate your time, man. The book is fantastic. It's a quick read, under 90 minutes, folks. But if you actually put this into play, it's really, really powerful. That's the coolest thing about this book. It's called The Leadership Mindset. This was Joe Calloway, and I am just delighted that you chose to spend some of your day with me. Fix your mindset, fix your culture, fix your business. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, brother.
Absolutely my pleasure, buddy.
Take care.
You too.